Gaze reading where the greats drop by. Trendy authors tell us all the who, what, and why. Anyone can listen, cause we're spoiler free. Gaze reading, from Pulitzer stars to book club picks, where the curious minds can get their fix. So you say you're not gay, well that's okay. There's something for everyone. Gaze reading.
Hello and welcome to Gaze Reading. I'm your host, Jason Blitman, and happy Pride. It's June. I can't believe it's June. Where has the year gone? On today's episode, we have Lucas Schaefer, who talks to me about his epic debut novel, The Slip, which is out today, and the guest gay reader is Mike Curato, whose book Flamer is one of the most banned books in the United States. We talk about what he's reading and learn about his new book, Gaysians, which is also out today. Their full bios are in the show notes. There is so much to look forward to this month. In celebration of Pride, there will be 2 episodes each week for the month of June. I just counted yesterday and realized that I have 14 conversations that have been recorded and not released yet, and I am just bubbling with excitement to share them with you. Of course, you could watch all the episodes over on YouTube. Make sure you're following us on social media at Gaze Reading on Instagram and Blue Sky, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so that you will stay in the know. There's a Gaze Reading Substack where I have a book buying pride guide. It's free, but if you're so inclined, you can get a paid subscription for less than the price of a coffee per month, and you could support this gay indie podcast. Speaking of supporting this gay indie podcast, there is Gaze Reading merch, and it's so cute. And you can see everything that is in the little merch store in the link in the show notes. There's a gay reader sweatshirt and mugs, and there's an A is for Ally t-shirt, and all sorts of super fun stuff. So make sure to check that out. If you are new to Gaze Reading, welcome. If you've listened before, thank you for coming back. Gaze Reading is an indie podcast and a labor of love, so if you are enjoying the show, please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. I know I said that already, but it doesn't hurt to say it again. Share us with your friends, and if you're so inclined, leave a 5-star review so that the algorithm can help other folks find the show as well. It means so much, and I'm super grateful to those of you who have done so already and for everyone's support throughout the last 2 years of the podcast. I cannot believe we're about to celebrate 2 years of Gaze Reading. Ugh, crazy. Well, to kick off Pride Month, please enjoy my conversations with Lucas Schaefer and Mike Curato. I'm so excited that you're here.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you for
Lucas
having
Schaefer,
me.
welcome to Gaze Reading.
Oh, we're on. This is happening.
We've been on.
Do you know what's so silly?
We've been
I have
on.
listened to your show many times, and this always happens. And you do that. You were like, "Oh, we're recording, but we don't have to start." And I was like, "Obviously, we're on because I've been through this experience as a listener, but now I've been through it as a guest."
Do you feel like I pulled something over on you?
No, not at all. I think as soon as someone says, "I am recording,"
It's fair game.
Buckle up. But I was still tricked.
But I didn't even trick you.
No,
I was very upfront.
You were very forthright.
We're here to talk about The Slip.
The Slip.
You have your finished copy.
I do have my finished copy, and it's a 2-texture situation, which I was not prepared for when I got it. But there's the glossy red and then the more textured finish, the matte. Yes. Is that how you say that? Matte? Do you say matte?
M-A-T-T-E?
Yeah. Is that? Yeah, I've never known. I've seen the matte. Yeah. The matte.
Yeah. Listen, we are educational on Gaze Reading.
Yeah.
I want to hear your elevator pitch for the book, and then I have a very long list of things to talk to you about, but don't want to talk about anything specific to the book because I don't want to give a single thing away about it. Because
Greg, my husband, was reading a series I did a Q&A where it was just like I type out the answers, and I gave it to him to be like, "Is this okay?" And he was like, "You have somehow managed," because I've now done a couple weeks of promotion, somehow managed in all of these things to talk about sort of the themes in the book and the issues in the book without saying one thing that happens in the book. And I'm like, yes, that's great. That's good.
I don't read blurbs going into reading a book.
Yeah.
I knew boxing.
Yeah.
And I knew Texas.
Yeah.
And I know you're gay. So I assumed some mix of those things.
Yeah.
as I was reading, I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So anyway, all right.
There's a lot happening.
What is your elevator pitch for the book?
Okay, so The Slip. My name is Lucas Schaefer. The book is called The Slip. Because I see people do that on your show too. They do the nice introduction.
That's happened one time. I said to you, Lucas Schaefer, welcome to Gays Reading. Here to talk about your book, The Slip.
I'm a very regular listener. Okay.
You're very sweet.
So The Slip. The story of The Slip is this, or the pitch of The Slip is this. 16-year-old Nathaniel Rothstein is this miserable high school kid, very unhappy, from Newton, Massachusetts. He gets into a fight at school, and his mother, who is sick of dealing with him, sends him for the summer of 1998 to live with his uncle in Austin, Texas. And in Austin, his uncle sets him up with a volunteer position at a nursing home. And he befriends his boss at the nursing home, who is a Haitian-born ex-boxer named David DeLeese. And the two of them have this really magical kind of summer where David takes Nathaniel under his wing and starts training him at a boxing gym. And Nathaniel really is feeling himself and finding himself and coming into his own. And at the end of this summer, he disappears. And the book is about what happened to him and follows a huge cast of characters over about 14 years who are all connected to his disappearance in some way.
Perfect. Very succinct, very thoughtful, very rehearsed. I'm proud of you.
Very rehearsed, yes. Done it before, yes.
I don't think that's a bad thing. As I said moments ago, I started reading and I was like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
And so when I was about 3/4 of the way through, started to reach out to the two people who I knew definitely read the book.
Yes.
One being Greg Marshall.
Right.
And one being your editor, Tim.
He mentioned you'd been in touch. Yes. He didn't say what you said, but he said you'd been in touch.
I was like, I need to discuss this with other humans who I know for sure have read it.
Yeah.
And so those are
Those
the two people.
definitely have. Those two definitely have.
Right, exactly. And I don't want to say too much because there was so much I needed to unpack with other humans. Yeah. So I was grateful for that. If you were sent away for the summer, where would you go? Or where do you think your mom would have sent you?
As punishment or to be happy?
Do you think they're different places? You can't be home for the summer. You need to go here.
I was a camp kid. Like I went to.
Oh, so you did get sent away for the summer.
And I loved being sent away. I was a little theater gay. And
what camp did you go to?
Camp Emerson in Hinsdale, Massachusetts. Still exists. New ownership. The funny thing about the book is, and I'm sure we'll get into this, there are all of these characters who demographically are nothing like me. Nathaniel is white and Jewish, and is from Newton, Massachusetts, which is where I'm from. So is presumably the most like me, but is also very unlike me in that I was a good kid and pretty happy, and not Nathaniel is going through it in the book. As both a reader and a writer, I want the big story, the big narrator. Like, I was never going to be writing a slim volume about being a gay man in Texas, which is a very interesting thing to write about, but it's just not this book and not my deal.
I'm stuck on summer camp, and you said you were a theater gay. What shows did you do at summer camp?
My sort of tour de force was Pseudolus in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. Yes.
Okay.
I was Snoopy in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Yes. I was a shark in a questionable production of West Side Story. I think that might not have flown in 2025. I don't know.
Maybe in the context of this book?
It's very relevant to the book.
Yeah,
very relevant to the book. I did a bunch. I was in Guys and Dolls, Kiss Me Kate. We did them all. We did all the classics.
Speaking of questionable, when I was in summer camp, I, of course, played the Tin Man and the Wiz.
Where did you go to summer camp?
It was like a local theater camp in South Florida.
Yeah.
So nothing away, nothing. But yeah, the Wiz, Papa Gay in Once on This Island. Lots of roles that this little white boy should not have been playing. The book is called The Slip.
Yes.
Which I'm questioning my close readerness in making this statement.
Yes.
But a slip is a boxing move that I'm pretty sure is not once mentioned in the book.
Okay, your close reading leaves something to be desired, but it's mentioned briefly.
Okay.
It's mentioned briefly. There are 2 brief mentions. There are 3 brief mentions. But it's not
like a major thing.
It's not a major thing. And also, a slip has many meanings in the context of this book and in the context of the word. So certainly, and I think you would, I don't know if you would agree with this, but this is not really a book where you need to know anything about boxing to read 100%,
no.
or even enjoy boxing to enjoy the book.
I love, as I've said many times, particularly Friday Night Lights, a story where you don't need to know anything about the sport. You could just appreciate the world that you're living in.
Yes.
What's your experience with boxing?
My experience, okay, so I moved to Austin in 2006 when I was 24. And I moved here basically for no reason. I was like, I'd graduated college. I was this gay kid with writerly aspirations. So I moved to Brooklyn, which seemed like that's where you go.
Sure.
And I like this, but it's very expensive. And I feel like there are other parts of the country that I would like to see.
Yeah.
And I had a professor who was very influential in my life who had lived in Austin previously and said, you should give Austin a try. So I moved here and I didn't know anyone, or I knew a couple people, but didn't have any really close connections. And I saw an ad for an evening boxing class. This was 2006. This sounds like it's like 1940. It was 2006, but they used to have this thing called informal classes in Austin, which was run by the University of Texas. And it was basically, they'd put out this giant catalog that had community classes in all different subjects.
Sure.
And you'd pick it up at the supermarket or wherever. And I was like, I'm already in Texas, out of my comfort zone. Like, why not go to a boxing gym? Because I also don't know anything about that. And so I went and really just fell in love with the gym. I wouldn't say I fell in love with boxing. I ended up going there for 5 or 6 years very consistently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. To work out. I was
But you didn't like, I wasn't, you're like, I hate this.
I didn't. The boxing workout was great. I've sparred twice in my life.
Okay.
And that actually is a generous interpretation of that word. I have twice gotten into the ring with like headgear and the body cup and messed around, and both times it was clear that this is not something that someone who wants to be a writer and needs their brain should be doing with my skill level, which is not very high. But I loved the gym. It was this atmosphere where everyone was, and for someone who didn't know the city, it was so fun because it was people from the east side and the west side, every side of the city, every race and class and personality type. This is something that I get into in the book, but it was just truly this melting pot environment. And unlike a lot of environments in America where there are lots of different people, this one felt more like a true melting pot. Like you were working out side by side with other people.
You're also all doing the same thing.
You're all doing the same thing. It felt pretty integrated. Obviously, there were hobbyists like me and then professional boxers and amateur boxers, but even those lines were blurred in terms of if you're at the heavy bag, the person next to you might be a lawyer or a realtor or a professional boxer or whatever. So I was just very enamored with this world, and most of my friends in those early days in Austin, and still to some extent, came from the gym. And so it was always a meaningful place to me. And I knew early on in my writing career that it was a location I would want to draw from based on sort of the themes I'm interested in.
Sure. And also just like a great setting for a cast of colorful characters.
For part of the time I was working out at the gym, I was also a 7th grade teacher at an all-girls school.
Okay. What were you teaching?
I was teaching English and history. And for a while I was also the 7th grade advisor, which if I was not a fun job for me. But the funny thing was there was so much more drama at the gym than in the 7th grade classroom. I was always just like,
I don't believe it.
Oh. And there was a lot of drama in 7th grade. There were always like, just all of the gym drama was always very compelling to me.
Yeah. When I think about a terrible time in my life, 7th grade is like pretty high on the list.
I don't recommend revisiting it as a teacher either. I had a good experience, but I was ready to retire.
I'm sure.
Yes.
something that I loved about the boxing gym, or not loved, but something that tickled me a little bit, is that the term wrap up is a way to start, where it's so often a term that's to end.
I have never thought of that. That is a great point. Yes, because you're wrapping up your hand. So wrap up.
Yeah, right.
That actually means let's get started.
Hey, Schaefer, wrap up.
It
sounds like it's time to.
Yeah.
Your face was so funny. You were like, okay, that's
good.
Spar?
Yeah, no, that's good. I like that. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Is the gym still a way for you to blow off steam? Because it's like clearly a place that that's what people would do. I guess really I should say, what is now at this point in your life, what is your way of blowing off steam?
I'm a Pelotoner.
Oh.
I'm a Peloton person. I go to the YMCA, which does not have the drama of the gym, but does have the characters.
Of course. Does the YMCA have a Peloton, or do you have one at home?
No, I have a Peloton at home. The Peloton I would not want to do in public, I don't think.
Is it because of sweating? Is it facial expressions?
It's facial expressions.
Oh.
It's like,
yeah.
Yelling out the encouraging things we're supposed to yell out. It's just not. It doesn't need to be.
Is my shoe going to get stuck in the clip? Am I going to fall over? Yeah,
it does not need to be seen in public, maybe in the Peloton. But those are my two. And actually, since having a child, the other thing that in movies, people are always like sitting in cars before they like go inside. And I was like, I was like, why are they just, and now I'm always like, I just need 5 minutes like in the car. So that's my other, I don't know if that's blowing off steam, but that's something I now understand on a very deep level.
Yeah. Like a little reset moment to yourself.
Exactly.
A moment of silence, if you will.
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to say major plot point, because yes, it is a major plot point, but this isn't giving anything away. A major theme, a major motif is a sex hotline.
Yes.
Have you ever called one? Have you ever worked for one? Tell me everything.
No, I have never called a sex hotline. Story is set in 1998 when I was in high school, when Nathaniel was in high school. And this is like the end of the phone sex hotline era, because
I'm 100% sure we could find one right now.
No, you absolutely
Should we call one?
You definitely can find them. And I actually have done some research into this, because the phone sex hotline is a 1-900 number. And really by 1998, a lot of those were not 1-900 numbers, but 900 number, everyone knows what that means. So we decided not to get too cute with it. Yeah. I have never called a phone sex hotline.
Not even for research? This is disappointing to me, I'm not going to lie.
No, I'm so sorry. I feel
the
like
impulse to want to call one right now, I can't.
I feel like the equivalent of that for a gay person of my generation was more like the chat room, which that I had experience with.
So I will say something very specific about the book for me was its like atmosphere and vibe, and the 90s, 2000s nostalgia transformation of technology was something that I very much lived through, and I think felt in my body while reading the book, and I was taken immediately to the chat rooms.
Yeah. There's a definite chat room vibe. And also the character Belinda, who's this 41-year-old phone sex operator, hairdresser, sort of jack of all trades.
Yes, multi-hyphenate, I think we would call them today.
Yes, it's intentional that she's really working to make ends meet and has this job that is a dying trade. That's not talked about there, but it seems fitting with everything else we know about her, that she has this job that's like on the way out.
Did you have an internet boyfriend?
Like a consistent internet boyfriend?
Was there, when we talk about chat room, was there like some, you've got mail sort of way, you were excited when that person was online or that person was in the chat room, and you might not have known their real name?
Oh, for sure. I don't think I was like, I don't want to say I don't think I had deluded myself into thinking, oh, this is like going to be the person I spend the rest of my life with.
Oh, sure. No, I deluded myself just to be like, this person on this magical box in front of me cares about me and we have a connection, in quotes, whatever that means. I never ever thought we'd be together, but I was very intrigued by whatever XX
Right.
649.
I had a few people I met in chat room atmospheres who then became like AIM, like AIM friends.
Yes.
So that was like the next level, because with AIM, it was also just your like high school friends or your college friends or whoever. I do miss AOL Instant Messenger.
Yeah. There was the like weird anonymity yet very personal connection about it. I think especially in the gay community, there's Grindr and Scruff and all the apps. And so the things are very photo and location forward, where it was always ASL, right?
And as a writer, it's funny, first of all, Greg, my husband, and I have been married or have been together so long that we actually met like pre-app.
Yeah.
And so like if I were to have to write about Grindr, I would have to I don't even know the basic terms.
Sure.
But I would also say, as a writer, I think 1998 is a really appealing time dramatically, because there are some cell phones. Like, cell phones play a role in this story, but they're not equipped with the internet, so you can't just get all of this information right then, and not everyone has one. One of the things about this book is that it is a mystery. It's other things as well, but you do hopefully want to know what happened to Nathaniel, and you do find out. This is not an ambiguous ending. So the mystery is solved, and when you're writing a mystery, it's really helpful to have times when people can't get information just in their pocket immediately.
Right.
So it's it was an appealing time period for me to set a book in.
That was the energy, I think, when I reached out to Greg and Tim. I was just like, I cannot read this book fast enough. My brain and my eyeballs cannot read fast enough. I need to know what happens. And I knew instinctively that I would learn. So I was like devouring it. And I think that's why I missed the 3 mentions of the slip. So that's my excuse.
The other thing I will say is I think this book is really hopefully fun, but it is
100%.
But it is long. It's a long.
Yeah.
And I am an audiobook listener as well as a reader, and I just love as a listener when you can just settle in and it's 20 hours taken care of, doing your chores, whatever. So that was not. I knew I wanted to write this big, complicated, hefty thing.
It is so funny that this comes up naturally in this conversation. I was at the Texas Book Festival this year and, of course, had coffee with Greg Marshall, your husband, and in turn received an inscribed and autographed galley slip.
Yes.
And in it, you mentioned that I'm not able to listen to this on 3x speed like Barbra Streisand. And it was so funny because I was like, again, 3/4 of the way through, and I was like, damn it, Lucas, I wish I could listen at 3x speed just so that I could like devour the story faster. So,
it is not as long as that book.
No, oh God. So it's not a 700-page book, and a lot happens, and then there are lots of twists and turns and things. Yeah. But no, I could not listen to it on 3x, and I desperately wanted to know what happens. Let's talk more about the book. So the book is really this identity story.
Yes.
I am so intrigued that it is not a gay book. It is not a like capital G gay book.
And it's not being marketed, I would say, as a gay book.
No. I wasn't under any illusion that it might. Yeah. It just so happens that this episode is coming out on June 3rd. It's June 3rd. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
You're gay. Happy Pride.
Yes.
And I love that it's not a capital G gay book. And you look like you want to respond to that. Say more.
No, there are definitely gay characters and queer characters in the book. But I was really interested in this idea that I first started really thinking about at the Real Boxing Gym, of all of these different types of people coming together and what opportunities arise there and what tensions arise there.
Yeah.
And part of writing that book is it can't be a capital G gay book because it's all of these different things. And I don't think this book would have been written. It certainly wouldn't have been written the same way if I wasn't gay, because I think your sensibility is just influenced by being gay in the world. And I certainly, there's a particular section of the book I think is especially focused on gender and sexuality But yeah, I liked that it's gay but not gay.
Yeah.
Gay but not capital G gay.
Right. Yeah, it's like lowercase g gay.
Yeah,
Just
so
fine.
it's yeah.
You talk about your sensibility as a gay person being able to write this book.
Yeah.
What does identity mean to you? What does that sensibility mean to you? What are some elements that you feel like make you the writer that you are?
I set 2 different guidelines for myself, and I think this is instructive in thinking about identity. One was that all of these characters needed to be singular characters. Nathaniel is not meant to represent every Jewish white teenager. David is not every immigrant from Haiti. These are people with very specific wants and desires and what brings them joy and what brings them pain. I wanted to really nail down all of those elements of character for every single character in the book. On the flip side, there was also the reality that we live in the world. Like, the book is set in our actual world.
Sure.
And all of us are how we're treated, how we treat ourselves, how we're seen by broader society, by subsections of society. All of that depends on our individual identities, right? So both of those things had to be true. And another way I've put this before is if I'm writing 2 gay characters who are white, let's say, those 2 characters are going to be completely different because they're completely different people. But if the book is set in 1998, neither of them can serve in the military, neither of them can get married. Those are just facts of the country at that time, and how they react to that may be different, but the fact is there, right? And that's something for them to contend with.
Is it because you were gay in the 90s that you are aware of sensibilities of identity, and maybe a straight white man coming of age in the 90s wouldn't be top of mind?
I think
sorry for interrupting.
No.
I don't want to impose the fact that a straight writer can't understand identity politics, but
no, I think that's a great question. What I would say is I think what unites all of the characters in this book, and is something I definitely drew on from my personal experience just as myself and being gay, is all of them in one way or another are seen by others as supporting players or comic relief or just not really that important, right? These are the side characters. And that's true for David, who is this activities director at the nursing home, who faces a lot of nasty stuff from the people at the nursing home. He's worked at this nursing home from 1970 until 1998. And he's this Haitian-born Black man and has experienced all sorts of characters coming through this nursing home, including people who were like not that many generations removed from like the Civil War. So from him to Nathaniel, who is straight and white, but is also feels very marginalized in his mostly white community, to a lot of the other characters have this same feeling of just, I am not getting to be the protagonist in my own life.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the moments of tension in this book come when those people say, actually, I am going to be the main character in this story. And so you have a lot of characters who are fighting for real estate in this book because they're saying, I have gone through life being seen by some people in this one way, or maybe I've seen myself that one way, and I have reached my limit with that. And I think I don't want to speak for all gay people, but I think this is something other gay people may relate to, is this feeling of, oh my God, we love having a gay friend or whatever. But that's not who most people, I think, want to be. I think most people don't aspire to be like the best friend
character.
Yeah.
There are gay people, there are Black people, there are homeless people, there are all sorts of people in the book.
Well, and I really wanted to also lean into the issues associated with all of those things, like the David and Nathaniel. I mean, a lot of the Nathaniel section is him thinking about race, his observations about race, often cringeworthy observations. But I kind of wanted to go there and like be thinking, you know, because part of the book is like, it's this white high school kid from a largely white high school, a largely white community, doesn't really have Black friends, and is suddenly in this position where his supervisor is Black, And he is thinking a lot about that. And I wanted that to inform the story. That was important to me. And I think the other thing that relates to that with David and Nathaniel, I think when you're a writer who is, and I think this is especially true with race and especially true with white writers who are, writing non-white characters. But I think when you're writing someone who is not like you, there can be a tendency to create characters who are almost too good, right? Because you don't want to step on anyone's toes, right? And I was very aware of that going in. It's like, no, if you're going to write this character of David, like he needs to be a fully formed character and he needs to make mistakes.
90s.
Yeah, he needs to make mistakes.
Yeah.
He needs to make bad decisions. He needs to do all the things all the rest of us do. And that was sort of a guiding principle throughout. Not that every character needs to always make the wrong decision, but like
Sure.
I didn't want... I kind of did a number of things, I think, to kind of take the guardrails off because I really wanted to kind of go there and think deeply about kind of this white kid interacting with this black mentor and all of the complications and tensions and opportunities that arise in that relationship.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, I mean, David, he really makes some bad decisions, I would say, in this book. And that was important to me, as long as it went with his character. I mean, one of the interesting things with Nathaniel is there are a couple lines in the book that when we're in Nathaniel's head, sort of in his interior monologue, where early readers, like a number of different early readers were like, I think you should cut this line. And it's like, why should I cut this line? And it's like, it's like really cringy. It's uncomfortable to read. People are really, it's just not, it doesn't land well. And my question was always in thinking about this, both to them, but also to myself, was like, is this what Nathaniel would be thinking? And the answer was, unfortunately, yes. Right. So there are a few moments where it's like, oh, this is like really uncomfortable. Like, why is he saying this? And it's like, well, I think this is what this character, based on everything we know about him, unfortunately, this is how he sees the world. And it just doesn't make sense to not have it in there. So I had to just lean into complication in the book. Greg and I have talked about this also, but this is part of the reason why I didn't want to write a satire, because there are elements of the book that are funny and maybe a little bit absurd. I do think it's basically set in our actual world. I didn't want to do anything to kind of give me permission to not be thinking deeply about this stuff, like to be able to say, oh, that's, it's a joke, this is supposed to be funny.
Right.
Or, any of those
or
things.
It's not rooted in reality. And
it's
so
not
therefore I can do something even crazier than.
Exactly. I wanted to just remove those guardrails and say, this is this situation that is happening, and here are how the characters, I think, would act. And this is what it's based on, and just let the chips fall where they may.
And the reality is, if the book came out in 2002, nobody would bat an eye. I don't think, though, that I would have been able to write the book in 2002. Oh, God. No, of course not.
I think all of these conversations about kind of representation and, who quote unquote can write what. I mean, I think those are really important conversations, and I think they really informed the book that I did, right? Like, I don't think this book would exist. And in 2002, it would be.
No. It would not. I think my point really is that it is a period piece.
It is. It is. But I think what's interesting to me about the point you just made and really did inform a lot of the book was like, I started this in 2013, and that was like Orange is the New Black era. And did you watch Orange is the New Black?
80% of it.
Right.
Yeah,
that's all.
Enough.
We didn't need a lot. The last 20% could be avoided. But, the whole thing with that show was, it was like, oh, it's this white lady who's sort of our entryway into this more diverse population assuming I think that most of the viewers, I guess, would be white and needed that sort of guide. And I really wanted to explore this really varied world without kind of like the guide character. And that's not a knock on that show, which I enjoyed watching, but I think the 2002 version of this would be as diverse a group, but there'd kind of be the Lucas character who's maybe the center of the universe.
Yeah.
And that's not I don't have a specific book in mind. This sounds like I'm
no.
casting aspersions, but
well, and I also have to say, me saying it's a period piece is really it's a disservice to the book that you wrote because because that's not. It's true and it's untrue. It is a comment on a period piece, right? It's a memory piece.
Yeah. I mean, I think I also do think it's a period piece in that, I mean, it's so like 1998. I mean, that aspect.
But to your point, it is able to elicit conversation about race, about gender, about sexuality, about diversity that wasn't possible then. And so it's like I don't really know what I'm trying to articulate or how I'm trying to articulate it, but I feel like it is a period piece for a contemporary audience, and both things sort of work in tandem with each other.
Well, one of the things I really like about how the book came out is I do think it's very much about our current moment. And actually, and this I don't want to get into just because I think it is too complicated with the plot, but I mean, there are things happening right now in our country that happen in this book that when I wrote the book seemed like, okay, this could happen, or maybe it's happened once, but this is unusual.
Right.
And, so it's definitely about 2025, even though I started it in 2013 and it takes place in 1998. And
which is, I mean, and you saying it's about 2025 is why I'm saying calling it a period piece is reductive.
Gotcha.
Even though it is a period piece, right? Like and that's why I think it's a symbiotic.
But yeah, I mean, but I do think the fundamental issue with all of the discussion about writing outside your quote lived experience or whatever is this question of why. Like, why are you doing this? There's one line in the book where it involves someone who's complaining about political correctness, and the response is, if you can't say anything anymore, why am I always hearing the sound of your voice? Right? Like, I'm not interested in the kind of like, I have the right to say, everyone has the right to say whatever they want to say, obviously, or write whatever they want to write. I think the question is like, why are you doing that? Thinking of that like Alexander Chi piece or whatever. And that, that was a fundamental. The why is in this case, there's a very fundamental reason, right? Which is, this is a book about what happens when all of these lines that divide us start to fade away. And in some cases, those are really funny things, terrifying things, poignant things, but things happen when that happens. And in order for that to happen, I needed this big, varied, diverse cast.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's funny because like I don't want to use the term extreme because things, when lines go away, extreme things can happen, but depending on who you are, something extreme can be different, or each thing can mean something different to you.
Yes, I think that's very true. And some of the like sort of offenses in this book are the things that incite other things, like are very big things, but then some are like quite small.
Yes, right, exactly.
Small or silly or whatever. Yeah.
And there's a quote in the book that's to notice is to care, and I think
that's in my book.
It's in your book.
Oh, good. Okay. Mm-hmm. See, now we're even.
That's like one tiny line.
Yes,
I was talking about the title of your book.
Now that you say it, I can. Yeah.
And I just think that like part of what you're describing too is that you see people right? And I think you notice people and you care about people, and what you were describing about putting the secondary characters on the page and giving them their stories,
Yeah.
to me that's noticing. And so in turn you're caring, right? And unfortunately that also means putting these people in very complicated situations sometimes. My point really is that it comes across in a meaningful way.
When I was a kid, we were really in that colorblind era. Like my education was like, oh, everyone's the same, la la la. You know, and then obviously we've moved really into acknowledging difference and acknowledging privilege and all
Color
of these
conscious.
Yeah, all of these really important conversations. One of the questions of the book is, can you acknowledge the difference and also find some shared humanity, right?
Yeah.
Or like, how do you balance those things? Or how do you, really have candid conversations about race and sexuality and class and privilege, and also hold on to this shared sense of humanity and purpose? And it's not, I don't think the book has an answer to that question, but I think it orbits that question.
All of that makes sense. I was just going to say, thank you for unpacking all of that. And this is one of those perfect moments of a listener being like, I don't know what the hell that conversation was about.
Yes.
I was thinking a lot about manifestation and destiny and fate and the nuanced differences between those terms.
Yeah.
And I never really thought of them as different things before, and I purposefully didn't Google prior to this conversation because I didn't want to come in with a definitive answer. But I'm curious, what does, let's say, destiny and fate, what is that? Is there a difference to you?
I have never thought of that. I do think there's some sense in this book that your fate is malleable. I don't know if I want to say more.
No, you shouldn't say more. And I think maybe that's where my thought process was in thinking through the differences. In my mind, fate is not malleable. Something is fated. And I guess let's say something is destined, but for me, destiny can be manifested. And I don't think fate can be.
Yeah, that's interesting. There is a line towards the end of the book where a character has this, actually, I don't think a character has this realization. I think our omniscient narrator just says it, that when things happen and they seem fated, it just means you were ready for them to happen. A sign from the universe is an excuse, not permission. Oh, did I write that?
Something along those lines.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Good job, Lucas. Okay.
It's all connected in that section.
Right?
Yeah.
And I do think that's true.
Yeah. In my mind, and again, I don't want to get into any details about the book, but if fate is a thing that happens at the end of if it's the ending, then destiny is the journey, I think is what, I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about that since reading the book. Because
I like that. Yeah. It's funny because a number of readers have said that this is a theme of the book, which I agree with, but it was not one I went in thinking about or feeling strongly about, but I'm thinking about it more now.
I tend to underline things as I read, and I never know what will be interesting when I get to the end of the book. And so then as I prep for the conversation, I go back through all the things that I've underlined. And something early on in the book is just a conversation about a boxing gym being anywhere and everywhere, even if there's not a physical building, a state of mind. It could be anyway, there was something about that. And once I finished the book, I was like, oh, that is what teed us up for the entire book ahead.
Yeah. And that part was intentional.
No. Of course. But in my mind that was the fate of it all. And that's where manifestation and fate really come together. Maybe accidentally, but...
Yeah, no, I love that.
Yeah, and you also say you can't create a world that you can't imagine.
Someone's right. a teacher.
Well, you as the writer,
yes,
but
yeah.
And I think maybe that also ties back to the conversation about you being the person who wrote the book.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I mentioned I reached out to Greg, your husband, when I
Yes.
was reading the book, and he said you have to ask Lucas where the inspiration for David came from.
Okay. David, let me give a little context to readers. Nathaniel comes to Austin. He's working for this guy, David, who's essentially the activities director at this nursing home. And David's whole thing, every summer he has a volunteer work for him. This is how the nursing home works. And it invariably is a boy who is a little bit like Nathaniel, like it's always a favor for someone. In this case,
Right.
It's his uncle, someone on the board of trustees, etc. And David tells Nathaniel these really graphic stories of his own sexual experiences, which are basically all made up. David is this happily married guy, but this is his sort of like not midlife crisis, but the book gets into why he does this. Like, this is actually a central question of the book, of the early part of the book, I would say, is like, why is David behaving in this way? And he's also using Nathaniel's own preconceptions about what it means to be Black in regards to sexuality. He's playing up what Nathaniel perceives from pop culture, from his imagination, from his family, whatever. So when I was in high school, I was a bellhop at a hotel, and I did have someone like this who I worked with, who was really a fantastic mentor in the ways of hoteling, but would basically do what David does, tell these like really graphic sexual stories, which as a gay teenager, I think if I had a more, like, I was with the theater kids and the newspaper kids and the speech team kids, like, we were not talking like this. I think maybe if I had an older brother or was just in a different milieu, like, it wouldn't have been that shocking to me. And it is like this heavyweight premise. Like, one of the ways the book started was thinking back, like, why was he doing this? And I don't know in his case if the stories were true or not. And they were often not even, like, in the book, they're very much stories about what David has done. In real life, it was even more like a woman would be walking by and it would be like the most elaborate fantasy would be,
he would say,
relayed to me.
Yeah.
I was like 16 and I don't think he knew I was gay, but maybe he knew I was gay. That was the question. And I was just like, was he just bored? And he was someone I really was very kind to me and really looked out for me, because the funny thing about this job was I don't know how I got the job, because everyone else at the hotel, this was their job, because you could make a lot of money. You could make good money. I say bellhop. We were really doormen was the title, and there was more to it than just the bags, though that was a big part of it. But I had somehow fallen into this job, a boy among men, because no one else was a high school kid doing this job at this hotel. And I don't know. I was always just like, why were we having these conversations?
Yeah.
And I wasn't like offended by them.
No, but it's like, it is a very specific thing.
It's
you
very
were
specific.
Impressionable.
I was very impressionable. And I was just always so like befuddled and like never knew like what to say. And I will say, to my credit, I knew enough to not try to have my own made up sexual adventures or like even say anything about anything. I was basically just this silent partner, which probably for him was part of the fun of it. But and just
do we know what happened to him?
I don't.
Have you ever Googled him? Do you know his name?
I do. I have never been able to find basically anyway. It's so funny. This is also, I was born in 1982, and this is also true actually with my teachers from like middle and high school. Like they're all people who are like not on the internet.
Weird.
Some are. I have some like Instagram friends who are like old teachers, but especially elementary school, right? These are like pre-internet people. And I feel like this about some of the people I've worked with in more high school too, where like they might be like in the white pages, right? But there's not a Googleable thing about them. And I'm happy. The story has gone so far from that initial.
No. Of course, I would just be so curious. Where is he now? Is he alive? Does he remember having these conversations with impressionable young people?
I will say, having been around more people and grown older, I think I'd be curious to talk to some of my high school friends who were like a little more rough and tumble, because I have a feeling that they probably would have not found this even remotely eyebrow raising. But to me, I was just like this sheltered, like it was just not.
Oh, for sure. And I also don't mean to be like wagging a finger at this guy. You know what I mean? I'm not. No. It seems very normal for that time, especially.
Yeah. No one was hurt in the creation of these stories. But yeah, so that's where that dynamic came from.
That's so fascinating. I love that. How long were you at the hotel?
I worked there for a bunch of summers in high school and college, and some different people came and went. But
after theater camp.
Oh, yes. Yes. That was years. Years had passed. Years had passed.
Okay. So you weren't doing that when you were in high school. I'm sort of disappointed. And maybe that's why you didn't play Harold Hill.
Oh, I can tell you the end of my theater career if you want to know. It's actually really
of course.
Fun. I will say, in defense, it's gonna sound like I'm throwing my dad under the bus here, but in his defense, by the time of the end of 10th grade, was really like a newspaper kid and had outgrown theater a little bit for me. But I was cast in 10th grade in a chorus line, which we did that was the high school spring musical.
Which appears in the book.
Uh-huh. And I was Mike, who sings the song I Can Do That, which is like a tap dancing number, which I did not know how to do. And I was not especially coordinated. And I was so proud by the time of the show at how good my dance. I was like, man, like maybe I can be a professional dancer. Like I'm so good. And my dad saw me after the first show and he said, oh man, that was really great. He was like, you did so well. I know the dancing was like, you'd worked so hard on it. He was like, in the kick line, you were only like a beat behind. And I was like, oh. So I think I maybe did one more. I did Taming of the Shrew after that. And then I became like an editor at the newspaper. That was my thing.
Okay. You were only one beat behind. Everyone was on the one and you were on the two.
Yes. And I actually, I have a kick line joke in the book as well.
So funny. Oh man. That's okay, Dad. You weren't throwing him under the bus.
No, he was not.
Much worse.
No, it wasn't intentionally mean. It was just, it's always stuck with me.
Oh, I know. That's called trauma.
Oh, yeah. I somehow worked through it, but
I love it. Lucas Schaefer, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thanks for talking
Everyone
about
go get your copy of The Slip by Lucas Schaefer, out now. Great boxing term that appears in the book 3 times. Find them and call me out. I was devouring it. That's what was going on.
No, thank you very much for having me. This was fun.
My pleasure. And happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Guess Gay Reader Time.
It is June right now, so happy Pride. This is what I'm doing.
It's June. Oh my God,
right.
Yeah.
Yes, it's June.
I wish it felt like June.
I know. I wish it felt like June emotionally.
Yeah.
Mike Curato, I'm very happy that you're here. Thank you for being my guest gay reader today.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
I love that we are giving like complimentary colored sweaters.
Yeah.
The purple and the yellow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love a duotone.
Yeah, exactly. We would look good standing next to each other right now if we were in real life. How are you today?
I'm good. Gonna get it done. Working down the list.
Whatever it is, we are trying to get it done.
There's always a list.
Right. It always needs to get done.
Yes.
Where are you? The little background that you're giving me, I am ecstatic about.
My gracious drawing room, as Patsy Stone would say.
Is it actually? Oh no, it's
not like like where I draw.
Yes, of course. As a person who does graphic novels, this is very confusing.
Every room is the drawing room, basically. But yeah, I do sit on this couch from time to time and do my doodles.
And draw and doodle.
Yeah, just the salon.
See, if in order to fully understand, it has to be said in a very specific way. The drawing room.
Yeah, you have to draw out.
Exactly.
Room.
Yes. Thank you for the clarification. Very confusing. But I'm loving, is it gingham? Is it stripes? It's hard to tell, but the drapes are.
That's not even showing. I'm like, it's not quite either.
It's like a little bit gingham, a little bit stripe.
Her own thing.
We have colorful pillows.
I'm unique. Yeah. Category is IKEA.
Honestly, listen, shout out to IKEA. Look, they should be a sponsor of this podcast. Their stuff has been elevated.
There are those things where it's like, I could tell someone this is DWR and they would believe me.
Yes.
There are a few bangers.
Our bed frame is IKEA, and I would buy it again.
Okay. Yeah.
It's beautiful. I'm a big fan. I know. Shout out. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
And guess what? I built it myself.
Wow.
So, it looks good, and I feel good about myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I do have a drawer full of Allen wrenches from every single
I
IKEA
know. This
purchase.
is true. This is true. I don't think I've ever needed an Allen wrench besides putting together IKEA furniture. Have you?
Honestly,
does that drawer come in handy?
Honestly, yes, I have. It has come in handy. I don't know. I love an Allen.
You love fixing things, tightening things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Piecing things together emotionally, metaphorically, literally. Got it.
All of the things. Yes.
This explains so much about you.
Yes, I'm so put together in an IKEA assembly kind of way.
Right, right. Practically falling apart, basically.
Yeah. A little bit falling apart, needs some tightening time to time.
Right.
Fragile. Some chips in the press board here and there, but reliable.
We're really leaning into this metaphor. I'm all for it. Mike Curato, as my guest gay reader today, I have to know, what are you reading?
What am I reading? Okay, I have a sort of like little list of different genres. Since I write for children's and adults, I want to plug this middle grade novel in verse called The Poetry of Car Mechanics by Heidi E.Y. Stemple. And
oh my God,
it's
so butch.
I know, but honestly, like, this is about a gentle boy. This is about a boy with feelings who's like dealing with all of the like disasters in his life through poetry and birds. And I don't want to assume like people's identities, but actually, no, this is a straight boy. Yeah.
Or great.
At the very least bisexual, or what a pansexual person. But anyway,
sure.
he's into a girl. That's all we know.
Presents
but like,
as straight in the book.
For now, he loves
We've all been there.
No, but it's really beautiful, very powerful stuff. That's middle grade.
The Poetry of Car Mechanics. I texted my husband yesterday when I got in the car, and I said, hey, FYI, an alert keeps coming on saying check the coolant. I don't know. I was like, I don't know how to do that. You deal with that. So I need my car.
She needs a little drink, probably.
Right,
she needs thirsty. A refill. That's what that means.
Yeah.
Okay. Then my YA recommendation is My Government Means to Kill Me by Rashid Newsom, which it's fiction, but I kept thinking it was autobiographical. I'm like, wow, this guy's really led an interesting life. He knows everyone in the 80s
history
in New York City, but because like, no, it's fiction, but it's like first person perspective. And like, basically this guy lives through the AIDS crisis and rent strikes and is friends with all these notable names from gay history in the 80s. I loved it. It was a really fun read.
It's terrific.
Yes. And then for adult, I have 2 recs. I just finished reading The Editor by Stephen Rowley, who's best known for The Guncle, which I also love. And it was like a departure from The Guncle in a lot of ways, but like still very gay. And Jackie O is a supporting character. I should say Mrs. Onassis, as he's corrected in the book. It's, yes, about like his relationship. Like the main character is an author who finally gets his big break, and he finds out like the editor who's acquiring his book is Jacqueline Onassis and loses his mind. And yes, the book is a bit about their relationship, but it's more about the relationship he has with his mother and his family.
It's a memoir. I'm kidding.
Yes, I totally knew that.
Not a memoir.
I'm like, oh my God, you were playing with me. You know how gullible I am. Like, literally, I don't know what my deal was with My Government Means to Kill Me. It's like, I know the author's name. It's not the main character's name.
Right.
What is my problem? And I'm like, wow. Anyway, yes. So that's one. That's my
one of your
adult
picks.
fiction. And then I also read. I love a murder mystery, and so this was like cheeky fun. Dial A for Aunties.
Sure.
By Jesse Q. Santanto, and it's like about this. The twist is right, like this woman. She's like first generation Indonesian, and she accidentally murders a date that like her mother set her up on, like a blind date. She accidentally murders him. And so the book isn't necessarily, it's not about finding out who the murderer is. It's about her Indonesian aunties trying to help her cover up the murder.
Oh my God.
And hilarity ensues.
That's so fun.
So and at first I was like, okay, I don't know, let's see how this goes. And then I was like so invested and like laughing. I think it's very funny. I listened to the audiobook, so I'm getting like lots of character.
A full performance.
A full performance.
Yes.
So yeah, those are some of my...
What a good list.
Yeah, that's my recent reading journey. Oh, and I haven't read it yet, but I have to plug a graphic novel because duh.
Please.
And I'm a huge Molly Knox Ostertag fan. I love Witch Boy. And so I just bought this last week. It's called The Deep Dark. It's a young adult and apparently a Prince Honor book. I'm excited to read that.
Amazing. Such a good list. Stephen Rowley, he knows this, so I don't feel bad saying this publicly, but I hate the word gunkle. I hate, and this is pride, and so this is very homophobic of me. I'm so sorry, but I hate gayborhood.
We're living through homophobic times, so
we are living through homophobic time. The name gayborhood, I can't. Gunkle, I can't. Just taking a G and adding it to the front of a word does not make it gay, and that is so upsetting to me. However,
does it feel like gag?
First of all, it's the word gunkle has the word gunk in it, which is gross.
Fair.
Gayborhood, I don't even know where to begin. But a portmanteau that works for me, Gaysians.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I'm literally dead serious, though.
Okay, yeah. It's right there. It's right there, people.
Do you know why it works? Because both words are intact.
Yes. Yes.
Gay is intact.
It's a seamless
and
fusion.
Asians is intact. It is seamless.
Yes.
Asians,
Slasians. Oh, and my friend came up with Thasians. I mean, we think they came up with it, but Thasians.
Thasians. Yes, you are so inclusive.
The sequel.
Yes. It's so funny. I was thinking like this morning, I was like, what are other examples of two words that could fit seamlessly together? And literally, I could only think of one thing, and it is the most random, bizarre, how my brain got here, I will never know, but I feel like I have to say it out loud. Deus ex machina muste.
Wow. Wow, you were doing a lot there. Like, you did that.
I don't know what was happening.
Where did that come from?
Probably the over-caffeine, my over-caffeinated brain.
What were you doing when that came to you?
Walking around my house, preparing for this. I think maybe I was like doing the things, right? Putting on deodorant I was just like moving. And I was like,
and just playing around with Latin and Sanskrit and just like you did in your folding laundry.
I don't know. It is the strangest thing. Why did I come up with Deus ex machina muste? I don't know. But I'm going to run with it.
It sounds like a good title.
Just like this one.
Just like
Gaysians.
You're not going to forget it. You're not going to forget that title. Yeah.
For our listeners.
And I'm just going to warn you.
Warn me.
There is the G word in that book.
Oh, I know, I've read it.
Gaysians is in, not gay, obviously Gaysians in it. Gayborhood.
Neighborhood.
Okay,
I know. But when I tell people what the book is called, it's not going to make me gag.
I'm glad. Unless you're like, I'm gagging, then that's...
No, I'm gagging because the book is so great.
Yes, thank you.
And the title is successful.
Yes.
For the people, for the listeners, for the viewers who are looking at your gingham or striped curtains.
Yes.
Tell us about your book. What's your elevator
Who is
pitch?
she? Yeah. Okay. And first and foremost, gay Asian representation, kind of something I need more of. We rarely see gay Asian centered stories, let alone like a gay Asian full cast of any kind of media. They're there, right? And people are like, oh, you've got Fire Island. Yeah, we've got that one movie. Thank you. So anyway, there's just like a lot of things that I've experienced in my life that I needed to get out. And this is a story about chosen family, really, of everything down to the bare basics. When I graduated college, I moved to Seattle and I met my first gay friends, and a lot of them happened to be Asian as well. And they took me under their wing and showed me the ropes, and they became my little chosen gay family. And I didn't realize how special that was until later in life. But what I did see right away was like, oh my God, I've never been seen or understood in this completely three-dimensional way before in my entire life. I had Asian friends growing up, and like I had met gay people in college and had a handful of gay friends, but this was a completely new experience where I was like, wow, we have a sort of shorthand, right? Where I don't have to explain a lot to these people. They get it. And yeah, and along with that, we were all like really different people, just like the characters in my book, right? Because there are lots of stereotypes flying around, and I play around with some of those stereotypes. You know, and each character you might think is on paper like a stereotype, and then we start to find the layers, slicing that layer cake and leave no crumbs. But yeah, basically one of the characters is a bit parallel with my own story. AJ moves to Seattle. He gets taken in by this group of friends who call themselves the Boy Luck Club. Huge Amy Tan fan. And the Joy Luck Club was definitely an inspiration for getting started. Like I really paid attention to how she structured the Joy Luck Club. And I love when it's like different stories woven together, like different people's stories woven into one tapestry. So that was the goal with this as well.
Love.
Yeah.
It made me very nostalgic for,
yes.
I think in college I had a very robust group of gay friends, and then I moved to New York and I also had plenty of gay friends, but I would say most of my close friends were straight. And then post-COVID, I'm refinding my queer community, and the book was such a good reminder of the importance of that.
Yes, I think that's what's so present right now, right? Staying connected, staying in community, taking care of each other.
Yeah.
And that's the lesson, right? Without giving away spoilers, like that is, I think,
spoilers.
the main lesson in the book. It's like they're a close unit, and then different circumstances tear them apart. The world kind of tears them apart, and it's really on them to rebuild and make that connection stronger. And like that's what I want to see more of in the world.
Amen. And to springboard off of that, my new favorite question that I've been asking all of my guest gay readers, to amplify the people in their lives, I have to know, if you were to die tomorrow, who are you calling to clear the search history on your computer?
100% my sister.
Yes.
100%. I know that they will have my back, and they're also very thorough and will clickety-clack make sure all that is erased.
We love a thorough sister.
She knows where all the bodies are buried, like literally the people who have murdered together. You know,
this is what makes a good sister. What's her name?
Her online name is Katrina Reese.
Great.
She does comedy and voiceover.
I only want to just shout out Katrina Reese. Like, I just want to.
Katrina Reese.
Yes, we love.
And the amazing thing is we just recorded a full cast audiobook for Gaysians, and Katrina is one of the cast members.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she does a lot of the minor female vocal roles in the book. So
fun.
yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Shout out to her. We love those who we could trust with the deeds and the bodies. Mike Curato, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you.
My guest gay reader, everyone go buy Gaysians. It's the best portmanteau. And the book gagged me. But the title did not. And happy Pride.
Happy Pride, everyone.
Thank you, Lucas and Mike. You can get your copies of The Slip and Gaysians wherever you get your books. See you later this week, everyone. Bye.